Thanks for joining me for another cup of liberty in this series of videos about authoritarianism. Okay, so in the last video, I was talking about how authoritarianism is both a psychological disposition and a kind of politics. But not a kind of politics about liberalism or conservatism, because it's not concerned with where we are going as a society. It's concerned with how we get there, the method. Okay, just like libertarianism, whereas libertarianism is concerned that wherever people choose to go, wherever a community chooses to go politically, it doesn't care so much as long as the means aren't coercive. In contrast, an authoritarian isn't concerned so much with whether we have a traditionalist society or a more liberal one. What it is concerned about is conformity. Okay? Whichever way we're going, the diversity can't be too great for an authoritarian. All right. Now, I mentioned in that previous video that the authoritarian psychological disposition starts to manifest in the political lives of a society, in the political life of a society, when conditions of normative threat are felt. What are these conditions? Usually, people feel safe in the group identities with which they identify as individuals. Okay, so for example, I identify as both British and American. I identify with the West Country, which is a beautiful rural part of England that my family is from. I identify with the liberty movement in America, for example. So that's like a political grouping. Yeah. So what I'm just saying here is, we all in part find our individual identities in the groups with which we identify. Another one for me would be, I went to Cambridge in England. That's where I was educated. So that's obviously quite a strong thing in somebody's makeup, right? I mean, obviously Cambridge is a big name, and I was there during my formative years, like most people are at university. So I identify very much in some way with Cambridge and the alumni of that institution. Okay. Now, usually that's perfectly fine, right? People have individual identities that are rooted in groups all the time. However, sometimes people begin to feel that one of the groups with which they deeply identify is itself becoming fragmented, is itself maybe even becoming dangerous. In other words, they begin to feel alienated from a group that they have identity in or with, and that threatens their personal identity. Okay? Now, people with an authoritarian disposition are going to feel more personally threatened when they see problems with the group that they identify with than others. Okay? Conditions of normative threat are the conditions under which my group identity starts to break down. So, in the United States, there is a feeling among some people, many of whom voted for Trump, that the America with which they identify isn't the America anymore with which they identify. They're starting to feel, in other words, I don't know this society anymore. It's kind of going away from me. Perhaps more accurately, what they're starting to feel is this society, this group with which I identify, doesn't know me anymore. In other words, I am starting to feel alienated from a group where I find my identity. Now that's scary. For people with an authoritarian disposition, it's scarier than for most. However, for all of us, when that happens, it's quite a traumatic thing, right? It may take more for us to be threatened by the fragmentation of a group with which we identify. Some of us indeed are much more secure in some respects, and in as much as we are more personally secure, in as much as we don't need to find our personal identities with a group, we are actually less likely to be authoritarian, or we have, to put it another way, less of an authoritarian disposition. But these conditions of alienation, or these conditions that cause alienation, are conditions of normative threat. So that means I might feel that let's say the mean of my group morally is going away from me, culturally is going away from me, politically is going away from me. I start not to feel like one of America, okay? A lot of people who voted for Trump did so because they didn't feel like they knew what their America was anymore. We're going to talk about exactly how that plays out in the United States, or how it has played out in the United States in the run-up to the whole Trump thing, and why Trump got elected. We're going to talk about that in the next video, okay? All right, bear with me. See you in the next video.